The secret to getting ahead is getting started. So let's start the day on that note. My name is Fabian Trevor Cowan. I'm going to be your host for the day. Hopefully, it's going to be an interesting one. It gives me great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen present in the room, to welcome you to the third edition of the world's largest Fintech Festival, the Global Fintech Fest 2022, organized by National Payments Corporation of India, the Payments Council of India, and Fintech Convergence Council. This edition of the Fest is supported by the Department of Economic Affairs, the RBI, and the IFSCA. Before we start the day, it is only appropriate that we thank our partners who have made this possible. Our theme partner, WhatsApp, co-powered by Amazon Pay, our spend management partner, Encash, in association with Perfios, our payments partner, Cash Free Payments, and our CEO's dinner partner, HSBC. We thank our partners for making this possible. Our first session of the day, which is part of the Fireside chat, is platform-based approach for enabling cross-border payments. And for this, may we call upon Tiru Sarma, Head Relationship Management, Business Development, Commercial Banks, NPCI, who will be talking with Ritesh Pai, President, TerraPay. May I welcome Tiru and Ritesh on the dais, please. Thank you.
Good morning, all of you. So thank you for the introduction. Many of us know Ritesh very well. He's a pioneer in the field of payments and banking. So I'll just briefly touch upon few achievements of Ritesh. So Ritesh Pai is currently President Products and Solution at TerraPay. And he's a commerce graduate with Masters in Financial Management from Mumbai University with over 25 years of banking experience. He is actively involved in mentoring and working closely with startup industry, fintechs in particular, and was ranked among the top 30 fintech influencers in India. He was awarded as India's best CDO in 2017 and VFSI Game Changer in 2019. He has spoken and participated as a speaker in various domestic and international forums pertaining to digital and fintechs. Welcome, Ritesh. Thank you for being here today. So TerraPay, as we know, all of it's one of the broadly distributed B2B platform, and coming into more into now payments into consumer fund and globally as an emerging reach. So I will start with few questions. So the first one, which I'd like to ask you about, TerraPay as a platform is one of its kind, right? And very unique yet relevant. Could you elaborate a bit more about TerraPay approach and its contribution to global remittances and digital payments?
Sure, thank you. At the outset, thank you NPCI for inviting me here. It's really a great honor. I will take a shot at the second question first before answering the thing about TerraPay's unique proposition. I think data points always help us understand the situation much better, right? So if you look at the overall migrant population in the world, it's almost in the range of 290 to 300 million, right? I mean, these are roughly estimated numbers. Now, if you put this migrant population in terms of a nation, right, it stands out to be the fourth largest nation in the world after China, India, and US. That itself gives us an idea of what is the opportunity that exists, right? Now, if you further drill down more, 90% of this migrant population move out in search of a better livelihood. So if I were to put it in other words, more for an economic cause rather than anything else, right? And if you further drill down, 65 to 68% of this population is mostly the blue-collar workers. average ticket size, and this is something, the reason I'm highlighting these points is because when we look at some pain points, we can also identify what are the opportunities that exist in the ecosystem, right? And in some of the markets, now that we have a fair understanding of, this is historically been our bread and butter business. In some countries, we've seen that, even sending an average ticket size of around 250 USD, people end up paying 5 to 7% as fees. Just imagine paying a $14 kind of a fee for a 250 USD kind of a remittance. It's criminal in today's day and age, right? Now looking at the size of the remittance market, right? If you were to look at it, and again, I'm talking about the global remittance market, last 3 years, consistently, it has been crossing the 700 billion mark, right? 2021 specifically talking about, it was 773 billion. Now the interesting part, 295 billion worth of remittances that happened out of the 773 billion was purely digital, right? When we talk of remittances, we know simply it's like a transaction originating from one country, terminating in another country. But it comes with a lot of overhead. It's viewed with a different lens. It has to go through a rigor of the complete AML, CFT checks that are required, right? And with more friction in between, and a lot of this 773 billion is either cash to bank, bank to cash, or both sides of the legs are cash. We're saying 295 billion is digital only. And that 295 billion is about to reach 428 billion by 2025. Which means a 46% kind of a jump. And that's the opportunity that we are seeing, right? Additionally, one more data point to excite everyone is digital active users is about to reach a 95 million figure by 2025, which is again a 66% increase, which means there are certain trends that are coming in, right? Which is you have a young population coming into the mainstream. People are well versed with using technology services to do the remittance piece. I think pandemic has been a great booster. As they say, misfortunes come as a fortune. Contrary to the predictions that happened that the global remittance market may take a beating, it has shown great resilience. It has shown great resilience in terms of the throughput that has come out. And now with social distancing being a norm and non-face-to-face transactions being the new normal, I think we are seeing a tremendous uptake in the frictionless kind of a transaction, the non-face-to-face transaction. And that's exactly where I think TerraPay identified the sweet spot long back. And when I'm saying long back, about 4 to 5 years back when this entire infrastructure was being built in, it was with a mind. And again, while we are a B2B, which you already alluded to at the start of the conversation, we are only into the digital space. We never touch cash, which means all our transactions terminate either into a KYC'd bank account or into a KYC'd wallet. What are these trends? I mean, apart from the pandemic playing a role, apart from the new age population coming into the mainstream, people are well versed with doing things in a self-service mode rather than an assisted mode. I think there have been an influx of many new age partners, right, who are only into the digital interfaces, right? And then when they collaborate with an entity like a TerraPay, who has already the bells and whistles and the overall infrastructure right from the source to the destination, it is just redefining the price points at which this business is being conducted today. And that's where, when you talked about the state-of-the-art solution that TerraPay brings, we are a complete infrastructure. When we say infrastructure, many a times we mistake it for some superior tech, which just helps you move money from one point to another. But when it comes to cross-border kind of a business, right, there are more elements to it. There is compliance, the regulations, the AML CFT rules, the Forex, the liquidity management, the customer service. We create the entire infrastructure which gives the comfort to our partners both at the originating end or the destination end, that this transaction is going to happen in a very seamless way. We have also seen the benefits of a completely digital kind of a transaction, where I mentioned about that 5 to 7% kind of a transaction fee, that has come down drastically to 1 to 1.5% kind, in certain markets, which actually appeals to that segment, right? Now we are talking of a large percentage of segment which are blue collared and who can't afford these kind of exorbitant costs to be paid for money to be transferred. I think apart from this, the mission statement that we always followed at TerraPay was that the smallest payment deserves a borderless journey as safe as the largest, which means all our innovations that we do should ideally make a difference to the lowest common denominator in the society, the marginalized or the excluded ones, who, I mean, honestly, a lot of us sitting in the room come from a position of privilege, right? So we are used to organized ways of consuming financial services, but when you actually get some of these into the mainstream and they can see the transparency, the efficiency, the trust, the affordability, right? I think that is when the faith in that particular channel is established, and that's when the transaction consumption also goes up. Apart from the P2P, I think our unique proposition has now extended, I think post-pandemic or slightly prior to pandemic also, we have seen an uptake in the B2B side of the payments, the B2C side of the payments. Reason being a lot of cross-border trade, a lot of cross-border e-commerce transactions, they are also on the upside, right? My infrastructure continues to do the same. It's just that the compliance or the adherence, which are required from a P2P vis-a-vis a B2B, are the incremental changes. But given our historic experience in this business, I think it's just like, we are able to, address these use cases or these pain points very effectively. And again, it's like build once, consume multiple times. So once this infrastructure is in place, it's just about partners coming, plugging in, and enjoying the benefits of the interoperable system.
Right. Thanks, Ritesh. I think rightly said, the transparency, the convenience, and the affordability will give users the recurring of the use of that platforms again and again. So that's well said, and I think TerraPay is on the right track on this side, reaching out to the consumers. So as you said, TerraPay is kind of a platform with robust infrastructure and a kind of uptime is around 99.97%, which is quite amazing. So just wanted to understand more about infrastructure that TerraPay has created to facilitate this cross-border payments. If you can highlight something.
So I would go to the extent of saying that it's more than an infrastructure; it's a complete ecosystem. Right? Like I said, cross-border remittance is typically a transaction originating from one country and terminating into another.
Right.
But the kind of rigor or the journey that it has to go through, I think how much of fine-tuning or efficiency you can build without compromising on the safety nets that needs to be built, right? Because cross-border transactions are typically looked at with a different lens, right? And it comes with a whole lot of overheads because there are two separate regulators who are governing that same transaction.
Right.
So if you look at it, and if I were to compartmentalize it into various brackets, right from the source to the destination or right from the originator to the beneficiary, one is, of course, the sender onboarding, right? I need to onboard him. I need to do his KYC checks. I need to do his negative scrubbing, the validations against all the sanctions lists, etc. That itself is an exercise, right? Second, the same set of checks and controls are required on the beneficiary side, right? Then it goes to your entire safety nets that are required, from risk rules, your AML, CFT regulations that I have to comply on both the sides. Very important thing is the Forex.
Right.
The Forex exchange rates, the liquidity management. That's where I talked about the affordability, right? How I can come up with something which actually reduce the price points of doing the business. Because if I am able to provide better efficiency, my partner in turn can provide it to his customers, right? The liquidity management is again something our partners love us for. Today, as we speak, I think we are able to settle funds in 68 currencies.
Oh, that's a great
number. I mean, some of the points that you already alluded to, all our transactions actually get processed. 97% of our transactions get processed inside a minute. Our uptime is 99.97%. We as an entity are either regulated or have the necessary approvals in 26 geographies, right? We are enabling almost 203 send countries and 104 receiving countries. We are having access to, rather powering almost 1.5 billion wallets, 4.5 billion bank accounts. So the entire ecosystem is in place. And the way the tech architecture is, it's a complete plug and play. My partners can do one handshake, he gets access to the entire ecosystem. At the same time, it's very modular. So if some partner joins us, but he wants to use us only for, say, 20 countries, he can do. The 104 is the entire bouquet of services.
Plug and pay was right.
It's very parameterizable, it's very scalable.
Right.
In today's day and age, I think I need to give my partners the comfort that you please go ahead, design the user experience basis our infrastructure. You take care of your customers, we take care of you. Right? In addition to that, what I spoke about, the liquidity, the operational aspects, all of it, we have a very, very efficient customer service model. And these are all in a self-service mode, all on very agile and nimble APIs. Partners can consume it, render it across whatever form factors that they want. If you look at it right from sender to transaction processing to Benny validation, liquidity management, forex rates, settlement and reconciliation, and then finally the customer service, the works. What we have seen, mostly fintechs tend to, and again, I'm not trying to demean anyone out here, but we're just trying to focus on a transaction processing which is simply put tech. But there is more to it, to a transaction processing than just simple tech. I think that is what helps TerraPay stand out from what the other conventional methods of money remittance or cross-border payments that exist today.
Agree. No, it's well said, Ritesh. I understand the kind of flexibility you are giving to your customers in terms of parameterization and easy plug-and-play solutions. It not only helps for easy, faster market go live, also helps the partners to bring down the cost in terms of rolling out the services. Fully agree. Now, with this kind of sophisticated and advanced platform and service software you are using, I think you are now focusing more into merchant businesses, right? So you're trying to get into the merchant acquiring that space. So TerraPay is also into the as a platform enabling interoperability across payment methods and across geographies for merchants. So can you please elaborate on that?
So like I said, we continue to operate in the B2B space. The natural thing that would have been a derived value out of we doing the remittance business and having such a vast infrastructure was to capitalize on it by creating a bigger, larger ecosystem of the complete payments. And when we talk about payments, I think you won't find a better advocate than TerraPay who can talk about interoperability, because this is something that runs in our DNA. This is something that we believe in. And again, a lot of these things that we do is an enabler to my existing business. So we are not into like going and onboarding all the possible merchants in the world. We are trying to create this which will complement my existing business, which will provide a sweetener to my existing partners. So when we talk about payments, there are typically three large buckets that we are playing into. Today we have our complete issuing and acquiring platform up and ready, right? And then there is something that we are building on the interoperability. I'll come to each of these in separate stages. So first and foremost, I think from an acquiring perspective, we have the complete ecosystem as far as acquiring cards is concerned. What we have seen was typically our partners tend to use us from a last mile fulfillment. Right. And ours is a pre-funded kind of a model. That means a partner actually funds us, and basis that we end up doing the transaction processing. But with the entire acquiring kind of an infrastructure, I am now helping my send partners to even collect money. Which means now I have a better control over the entire transaction right from the source to the destination, right? Because I know that the sender who wants to send money to the beneficiary, I am actually having a pulse of that transaction at the source right to the destination, and hence I am able to stitch a better experience, right? Which means I am actually cutting off a lot of flap that exists, which otherwise historically if you would have worked with some of his existing partners, there could be a lag between the settlement that he receives, he pre-funds me, and then the beneficiary getting the money. this is one of the reasons why we can boast about 97% of our transactions getting processed inside a minute. Again, this is something that is complementing my existing remittance business. The other piece that we have started on the payments is our business payouts. What we have also seen, and like I mentioned, right, we've seen a big boost in the B2B, the B2C kind of payments purely because of a lot of cross-border trade transactions, a lot of e-commerce transactions that are mushrooming. Again, without touching cash. Today, we can actually deliver transactions into the 1.5 billion wallets, the 4.5 billion bank accounts. Now, we are also, because of our issuing capability, able to terminate those transactions into cards.
Right.
So this gives a complete solution to all my partners or typically business entities who have these pain points of delivering the last mile payment, but do not have any means of doing it in a digital manner. And cash, we know, always comes with its sets of overheads.
Correct.
So these are, I mean, we actually work on use cases. We actually look at use cases and then come up with a solution. We firmly believe that consumption of such solutions is far, far much better than just trying to do a carpet bombing in the market and just be one among the many who are offering it. Thirdly, and the most interesting thing, which we take a lot of pride is the request to pay solution, right? And this is again going back to my point about interoperability. Today, and a large percentage of this, what we do is in the Africa continent. 1.5 billion wallets that we are powering today, right? A lot of these are mostly proprietary solutions.
Right.
Right? While I help them terminate transactions into the wallet, they are severely handicapped as far as the spending is concerned. Because of proprietary solutions, we all know, I mean, in India also we have seen that historically that, when the PPI licenses were issued, most of them were the closed user groups or could only operate in the jurisdiction that they have created. Which is a serious handicap. In today's day and age, I think it's criminal to come up with proprietary kind of solutions. The typical behavior of someone going to an agent outlet, withdrawing cash and using that cash to transact at the merchant. We said that since we have access or we have the depth to reach out to these wallets and credit the funds into these wallets, why not enable them from a spend perspective? And that's where I think this entire thought process germinated about we creating an entire infrastructure both on the acquiring side as well as on the issuing side. Mind you, again, sticking to our B2B principles, where on one side we have these large financial instrument issuers who are onto our network. On the other side, we have a large ecosystem of aggregators or typically network operators. And we continue to play the role of a payment facilitator or an intermediary, where we are bridging that particular gap. We are very conscious of the fact, and I often jokingly say that internally that, if we were to get into the automobile industry, we are not going to start by reinventing the wheel, right? The wheel is always supposed to be round, so we are not going to experiment with that. So the same way, we are continuing to ride on the existing infrastructure that our partners have. I mean, the kind of uptake that is there for USSD payments in the Africa continent, vis-a-vis if you come to the Southeast Asia, the QR code is on the rise. If you go to some of the other developing economies, you will see a lot of proprietary terminals.
Right.
Our idea is you continue to stick to that form factor. We are the ones who will bridge the gap to ensure that the transaction happens. We also take care of the settlement and recon purely because we have the capabilities of doing that business on the remittance side. If we can handle settlement in 68 currencies, I think we can even do that for another 30, 40 more kind of currencies. And that's where we see value, right? I mean, at the end of it, without troubling the form factors on either side, if we are able to build that ecosystem and going right up to the customer grievance redressal and the dispute management part of it.
Right.
So that's the whole idea, and these are typically the three large pieces on the payment side. Like I said, selectively addressing certain pain points that exist in the ecosystem.
I think it's a great opportunity in terms of addressing these pain areas and fixing and putting your strategy out there. Just quickly, last question, which I thought of asking you. In terms of partnership with NPCI, NIPL, how do you see the advantage going, in terms of collaboration? Where do you want to?
Since Ritesh is sitting on the first seat, I have to be nice to him. No, I mean, jokes apart. Like I mentioned, right? We are a B2B player, and we typically work with large networks or aggregators. I mean, my association with NPCI goes way back.
Right.
It's been just 2 years that I moved outside of India, but prior to that, NPCI was like a daily
Since
routine
day one,
for
yeah.
us. A daily routine for us. No, we have seen the upside of, going with schemes, going with networks, going with well-defined processes, going with some of the best global practices,
Right.
going with standardized protocols. The virality, the reach, the awareness, the visibility that it can create is tremendous. And I think it's likewise, right? Because I still remember when it's a very dated kind of a conversation I had with Dilip that time, that when UPI started, I told him 3 things. I think UPI should be there for feature phones, UPI should be there for credit cards, and UPI should go international.
Right.
I think while the feature phone and credit card is something
is
that
there.
has got announced, maybe UPI going international is something where, we definitely see a role in the future. Apart from that, I think our engagement with NPCI is already there from inward remittance kind of thing. IMPS and the UPI, VPA is something that we aggressively use for all terminations into India. Yeah, I think it's a win-win situation for both, and we are very eager to collaborate, co-create with NPCI. We all know, I mean, it's something, it's a matter of pride, right? When you go into different geographies and speak, and people talk about UPI and NPCI, it's become a sort of a precedence that has been set the world over, right? And especially in virgin territories or markets who are now trying to enter into the digital payment space, while the intent is there, right? It's all about building capabilities, and I think that is where we at TerraPay work with like-minded partners, even to the extent of working with regulators, and that is one of the reasons why we are like either licensed or regulated in 26 countries. Where we know how regulations work, we are sensitive to how to comply with things, which means that gives us that much more responsibility to perform. And I think an association with entity like NPCI definitely helps that to build more credibility when we talk about, having partnered with such an entity for promoting a lot of cross-border payments.
Right. No, I do believe also there's a great synergy, between NIPL and TerraPay, and it can go up to the highest level.
Look forward to it.
Thank you, Ritesh. I think it's a very insightful session, and I hope our audience got in, yes.
These are advantages of it being the first session, and then people are attentive. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you
so
for your
much.
patience, audience. Thank you, Ritesh.
Thank you.